what were your remarks, or what have you noticed in general about Algerian textbooks in public schools, especially concerning English, um, then and now? I'm not sure, are you a bit familiar with the new curriculum and textbooks in the public schools in Algeria? So what have been your remarks again about that?
I have done my PhD around in 2000, between 2016 to when the new books were published. It was around
Mm,
2000. They started working on them around 2018, and then they got published recently, and they are used at the moment. So my PhD research was focused on the previous curriculum
mhm,
and the previous textbooks. But the essence of it, the theories that I discussed, the concepts that I deconstructed, basically are the same concept that I am using now in my line of work as a DI consultant for publishers. And these are the same concept that I would look into if I were to analyze the current um, English textbooks used in the public schools. So few of the concepts that came up in my research, there was the theme of banal nationalism and
mm,
nationalism in general. This was mainly highlighted with the need to use Algerian flags in
mm,
whenever opportunity we would have. So the
mhm,
discourse of patriotism, the
mhm,
discourse of attachment to the nation was very prominent in the first in the earlier versions of ELT textbooks that we used in Algeria. I will need to look more deeply into the new series, but I cannot make a comment on them because I haven't examined them with the same thoroughness that I did with the previous series. So the theme of banana nationalism was something that came up. The absence of um, Black Algerians in the previous
mhm.
series was something
Sure.
that struck me as well. So basically, Algeria is light skin, Algeria is middle class as well. All Algerians have access to the same thing. So the myth of equality was something represented through, free school and access to hospitals. And however, the values of what Algeria wants to promote among its younger generations, such as generosity, solidarity, um, and hospitality, were prominent in the previous series. So there were a lot of beautiful things as well in the previous series.
How do you think curriculum designer fall into this trap of uh, banal nationalism, of stereotypes? Do you think that this is something top down, or do you think that this is something that um, is due to the fact that these curriculum designers are not well versed into ways in which to integrate intercultural elements in the curricula or in the textbook? Or do you think that this is due to ideology in general, in any given country? Or do you think that this is something cultural? So, or is it a combination of all of these different things?
I think you answered your question by your last using your last phrase as a
Mhm.
combination of plenty of different things. So textbooks are known to be ideological products. They are the result of a combination of factors, and there are many elements that need to be considered when we are designing a whole textbook at the unit level, and then at the activity level, and then the skills you want to promote, the grammar rules you want to put forward. And there are a lot of parameters that go into creating a textbook, and the technicality and the technicity of it is something that we are not trained to. It's something like it's that treasure that publishers for years haven't communicated to the masses. So if somebody like yourself want to go into ELT publishing, where do they start? If you want to write a textbook with the the whole logical sequencing and processes that a textbook has, where do you get trained to do that? Who can teach you to do that? So only a select number of people were writing materials, based usually in Oxford, or people based. I would stick to the example of Oxford. So you will find that most of the big publishers are based in Oxford, and the materials writers, you'll see the geography of it. You can ask people around, and you can look at the locality, and you see that they have access to the privilege of writing textbooks because of proximity to the publishers, right? So initially, the industry hasn't started with a framework. Like, we used to write textbooks according to the needs. So if then we created the science of writing a textbook. There are sequences, and then we rely on social theories such as social theories such as scaffolding, for example, with Vygotsky, and then you would find you will learn 5 vocabulary elements, new 5 vocabulary elements, and then recycle them by the end of the unit and move to the next session, and then recycle them back into the next unit, etc. So we started relying on theory when we're teaching phonetics, or when we are providing input or instruction about grammar, and we rely on, for example, lexicography or the dogma theory, and then we rely on these theories to create the materials. And the materials will, if you analyze them, you will see, oh, these authors come from this school, or these authors follow this paradigm, right? So there is this methodological ideology, but there is also the personal ideology that comes in. You usually write about what you know. And if what you know is only your circle, then you end up representing your circle.
Sure.
And that's how it basically goes. Then you have the top-down instructions that come based on the language policy, or based on the education policy. And then you will have set of values that you are required to promote in the textbook. So if the Ministry of Education says that we want our children to be proud of being Algerian, to uphold certain values of generosity. I was speaking about hospitality earlier. Then you will find these themes in the textbook, because they are part of a vision, and that's this vision is a top-down vision. So I don't think there is anything malicious about the way these materials writers design their materials and write their materials. Again, maybe it's naive for me, but I don't think a material writer goes like, oh, I'm gonna promote this ideology through this activity about,
and this is perhaps the, in a way, the essence earlier of my question, that is, are we consciously or unconsciously, for the curriculum designer, is he or she consciously or unconsciously writing or designing the curriculum and the textbook? There is, we all know that there is a phenomena of like self-censorship, that there are certain topics, there are certain things that you don't go into, even if you don't have any kind of instruction that you shouldn't, but you just do it consciously or unconsciously. So perhaps it's not like, as you said, it's paved with the best intentions, but that's usually how it ends up. That is, we are interested, of course, in the final product, where we see the level of representation of certain groups, where we see, is there mentioning of certain topics or not, of certain perhaps social issues. We are interested in that, and that is going to reveal for us the social milieu, or the ideological, of course, side at play in the curriculum design or in the textbook design. And so my next question would be then on the other side, if we have the other side, which